They thought breaking you would bury you. That silence would cage you. That if they chipped away long enough, you'd forget who the hell you were. But what they didn't realize is pressure doesn't shatter kings. It sharpens them. You didn't disappear. You ascended. What they mistake as distance is discipline. What they call cold is controlled fire. They will never meet the version of you that begged, that bled, that bent until you were a shadow of yourself. That version was the offering. What stands now is the weapon. You are no longer asking for seats at tables where your presence once had to prove itself. You are the table, the throne, the empire. You've seen what happens when you give too much too freely, when your love is mistaken for leverage, when your loyalty is seen as weakness. Never again. You've traded permission for power, apologies for silence, and softness for selective access. They don't get the blueprint. They don't get the map. They only get the echo of what they lost when they misjudged your worth. This new you doesn't fight for visibility, you command it. You don't raise your voice to be heard, you step into a room and the air changes. This isn't vengeance. This is vision. The kind born from betrayal. The kind molded in isolation. The kind that made you more than just resilient, it made you untouchable. They can talk, they can wonder, but they'll never hold the real you again. Because the moment they tried to crush you, they activated a force they were never built to contain. You're not cold, you're calculated. Not angry, awake. And the version of you they once knew? That was the lesson. This is the aftermath. The reckoning. The crown forged from everything they tried to kill in you. And now, they'll watch from the sidelines as you rise, unstoppable not because you were saved, but because you saved yourself. You don't need to scream anymore. Your existence is loud enough. Your absence speaks volumes. The same ones who mocked your sensitivity now envy your strength. The ones who used your kindness as a shortcut to comfort are stunned by the fortress you've become. Let them stare. Let them speculate. Let them stew in the silence you once filled with forgiveness. You owe them nothing. Not your words, not your warmth, not your warnings. Because survival didn't just change you, it crowned you. They thought they could break you into submission. But you didn't break, you built. Brick by brutal brick, forged from nights you cried in silence and days you walked through hell with a smile just convincing enough to keep going. You turned your pain into precision, your grief into grit. You built walls not out of fear, but from focus. The kind of focus that says, I've seen enough. I've felt enough. And I'm done bleeding for people who treat my heart like a battlefield. This power you carry now, it's earned. Not inherited, not gifted. It came from every betrayal, every unanswered message, every fake friend who disappeared when the light dimmed. They weren't ready for your quiet evolution. Because real power doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't ask to be seen. It becomes undeniable. Now, the same ones who walked away expecting your collapse are watching in disbelief as you walk like a storm they can't predict, a legend they can't rewrite. And let them. Let them feel the weight of your boundary. Let them taste the consequence of access revoked. You're not punishing them. You're protecting you. Because now your energy is a privilege, not a guarantee. You don't entertain clowns when you've stepped into your kingdom. You don't feed chaos when you're busy building legacy. They called it ego when you stopped shrinking. But you call it clarity. You don't just rise, you ascend. Not for revenge, for rebirth. And in the end, they'll all remember the day you stopped knocking. The day you stopped begging to be seen. The day you stood still, unbothered, unbent, and everything around you realized. The fire they lit for your destruction, it became the flame that forged your dominance. They tried to weaponize your wounds, thinking scars made you soft. But they forgot steel is made in flame. Every crack they caused just became a place for the light to pour through. You didn't just survive the storm. You became it. They wanted submission, obedience, the old you, the one who gave until there was nothing left. But that version died in the fire they sparked. And when the ashes cleared, something ancient stood up. Not broken, reborn. Now you walk with a silence that screams, the stillness that threatens. Because real strength isn't loud, it's steady. It's knowing you could destroy, but choosing not to. It's knowing your worth without needing applause. The world used to get all of you, your thoughts, your time, your tenderness. Now, only those who've earned it. You've learned that love without standards is self-betrayal. That access without respect is a crime against your own soul. And you're done committing crimes for people who wouldn't do time for you. They called you distant, detached, but they never once asked what it cost to stay close. They never saw how your heart shattered behind closed doors, how you silenced your own needs just to keep the peace. Not peace-pleasing. And now that you've stepped back, now that the mask has dropped, they panic. Not because they lost you, but because they lost the control they mistook for connection. You were never too much, they were just never enough to hold all of you. So let them sit in the echo of your absence. Let them choke on the silence they once begged you to break. You are not a second chance. You are a final form. The culmination of every never again you whispered through gritted teeth. The product of 1,000 resurrections. And now, you don't flinch. You don't fold. You don't explain. You just move with precision, with purpose, with power. Because when they built that fire thinking it would destroy you, they forgot. Some are born in darkness, but others are forged in it. And those ones, they don't burn. They blaze. You stopped showing up for your own execution. Stopped handing your heart to people who treated it like a temporary thrill. You see it now clear as steel that not everyone who smiles is safe, and not every invitation deserves your presence. They called it pride when you pulled back, but it was protection. They called it ego when you stopped explaining, but it was evolution. Because after all the draining, all the betrayals dressed as love, all the smiles hiding sharpened teeth, you realized the most dangerous thing you could ever do was give yourself away too cheap. Now, you cost. You cost energy, you cost honesty, you cost loyalty, and if they can't afford that, they don't get in. Not even close. Because you're not lonely, you're focused. Not bitter, you're built. Built from every piece of yourself you once gave away for free. And when they see you now, standing in that silent storm, unmoved by chaos, unreachable by games, untouchable by their guilt, they don't recognize you. And they shouldn't. That was the point. They should never again recognize the version of you they broke. They should only see the silhouette of what rose in its place, powerful, precise, dangerous in the most beautiful way. Not a villain, not a victim, a force. The kind that doesn't wait for permission. The kind that moves through rooms with a presence that rewrites the atmosphere. The kind that walks alone, not because no one stood beside them, but because no one qualified to. This is your era of no compromise, of boundaries drawn in fire, of silence that doesn't beg to be understood. You don't ask who stayed, you already know. You don't wonder what they think. That chapter is closed. You are no longer a story in someone else's script. You are the author now. You write in thunder. You edit in lightning. You sign your name in grit, and every step forward leaves footprints carved in stone. Because when the world tried to end you, it didn't know. You weren't built to bow. You were born to break chains. And now you lead the charge. Like, comment, and subscribe.